Gareth, who'd have thought it? We started the Standing Tour podcast, and here we are now reviewing the year. What do you think of it? How do you think it's gone?
I think we've done really, really well. I think we've handled the pressures of European football, 2 or 3 games a week for several weeks, quite well. We'll listen to Tony Pulis in a minute, but he seems to have alluded to the fact that he thinks that we've overachieved. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I was quite surprised because when I was at the last press conference, you may remember I asked him and he was talking about overachieving. And again, as we'll hear in a minute, he just briefly starts off talking about team injury news. But then he goes on about the season we've had so far and the expectations. So perhaps we should listen to that now.
Yeah, Hoofy's got a little knock. I'm not sure how bad it is, but we'll see whether he comes out to train today. And then we've got obviously Crouchy. We'll take a view on Crouchy tomorrow. Glenn exactly the same. We'll take a view on Glenn tomorrow. So, and then we've got Wilco and people like that coming back. So tomorrow will be a big day for us in respect of selection.
We got 1 or 2 knocks, but we won't know until tomorrow. I don't think whether. Glenn will be fit, whether Crouch will be fit. Hoofy picked up a little knock as well. I'm not sure whether Robert will train. So there's 1 or 2 that we'll have to wait until tomorrow. We'll see. We'll assess Peter tomorrow. It's been a great season for the football club. For the calendar year, especially. To get to a cup final. To get into Europe, to qualify from a knockout stage into a group stage, to qualify out of that group stage, to be sat in the top 10 of the Premiership is, it's been a great season for us, and the players should be very, very proud of what they've achieved, and everybody at the football club, from the chairman right through to the family who really run the business, to all the supporters. Everybody's been as one, been together, and that's why we've been successful.
Well, then,
that's the problem. Expectations is it's managing expectations now, and there comes a point where you take the club to a level that far exceeds really what it should be achieving, and then people want more and more and more. So it's how you manage that expectation, and how you keep people's feet on the ground, which is always very difficult. Well, I just think it's part of life, yeah. And especially society today, I think everybody wants that little bit more all the time, and you can only achieve a certain amount, and it's knowing what level you're on and what you can achieve and what you can't achieve, and accepting that and trying to improve if you can along the way. And I think it's very difficult. I think what we've done so far this season has been absolutely remarkable. We've played 10 more 3-game weeks than the majority of the teams in the Premiership, and those 3-game weeks have been on the back of journeys. I think we travelled, 15,000 miles during our Europa League campaign. And that's so far. So we've done smashing so far. But there's a long way, there's a long way to go. We've only just reached, or we will reach halfway on Saturday. And the second half of the season will be really difficult and tough, and we accept that.
Yeah, just keep pushing on. Just try and get better players in. When the opportunity does arrive. Keep moving it forward slowly as we've done. As I've just said, I think you reach a level where you've really overachieved in lots of respects. The biggest problem we'll have is the expectations, and keeping everybody like yourselves and the supporters, with their feet on the ground and recognising and realising where we are.
He says that he thinks we've got a reasonable squad. I must say I have to disagree. I don't think we've got a lot of strength and depth, and I think that we're looking a bit bare at times. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Ange.
Well, Tony was asked this morning about the transfer window, and as one would expect, he was talking as much about getting players out to play football as getting players in to play. I'm pretty certain in my own mind that it won't be another £10 million signing, but I think if the right player becomes available, then Tony will go for them, because as he said before, he's always looking to improve the squad. We have got a good squad. It's one of those, Gareth, where I wouldn't be surprised if we got nobody, and I wouldn't be surprised if we got 2 or 3. I think if the right players come along, we're now in a position where we can be choosy. And he also alludes to the fact that he's never felt he's done any panic buying at Stoke. I'd be interested to see what other supporters think about that, because we got quite a few players now that don't play at all that have been bought.
That's it. I mean, there was the panic buying of Andrew Davies, Sawes and Tong. I feel as though there are players sat there on the bench that would perhaps be better up on the field at times, because we haven't seen the likes of Cameron Jerome too much. And I think it's quite interesting when you've got Ricardo Fuller, who Tony says got himself injured at Manchester City, that we don't see the likes of Cameron Jerome starting, because I'd like to see him get a couple of matches under his belt in the first team.
Tony's set in his ways, and he has his own formula of how Stoke Football Club will play, and sometimes it can be very frustrating, but you can't knock the success we've had with him at the helm. So maybe, just maybe, there's a plan there that we haven't twigged yet.
There's some very interesting facts about Andrew Davies. I don't know whether you've seen his time at Bradford. He played about 4 or 5 matches, then he got a straight red card in the 25th or 26th minute for a dreadful tackle from what was reported, and then he did his ban, he got his ban over with, and 50 minutes into his first game after his ban, he got sent off again for foul and abusive language.
But hopefully they're going to keep him, aren't they?
The indications are this morning that they're going to try and keep him, yeah.
Well, if players become, we think we've got a decent squad, and I think if players become available that we like, if we can do something, we will. But there's 1 or 2 in the squad as well that actually need to play football, and we have to recognise that and see if we can do some business there as well. So, might be a few going out. Whether we bring a few in, we'll have to, that'll determine really the fact that we feel it's right for the football club, and it'll be, it won't be as busy as it's been. We need a stronger squad, and that's why we've brought players in this year to deal with the Europa competition. But there's still players outside that 25 that need to be playing football, and are good players. We think they're good players, and they certainly do other clubs, a real good team. Like I say, it's a good football club to be at. We think it's a good football club. We think it's well run. Great support. We've been as together as any other club in the Premiership for the 4 years we've been in there. I don't think anybody can doubt that the unity within the group. And I say that right from the board, right through to the youngest supporter who comes on Saturday to watch us. It's been united in lots of respects, and it's brilliant to be part of that. It's been a fantastic experience for everybody on board who's been part of the club. Yeah. Well, we've always tried to do that. We've always tried to get a spirit that everybody enjoys being here, whether it's training, whether it's going out for dinner together, whether it's sitting in the canteen or sitting on the bus travelling to a game. The spirit within the group and the spirit within the club is very, very important to me as an individual. I think the togetherness that you can gender really, really helps, and gives you that edge when you need it.
Yeah, so that's good for him. It was quite interesting to hear what Tony said about getting players out and playing, and also he spends more time in this particular podcast that people will hear in a few minutes, because I'm sure they'll be sick of listening to us. He talks about the academy and how the next step for Stoke is to get people out of the academy and playing. So that's an interesting thing we'll be listening to. I don't know. I've always felt that Tony's not been a big fan of the academy in the past, but maybe now with the price of players, things are changing. He's having to think that through.
Yeah, I think that as the recession continues and the price, it doesn't seem to affect players' wages though, and transfer fees. The recession hasn't, and I think that more and more people are now seeing football as more of a luxury item. Because normally it was the same as you pay your gas bill, electric bill, and you pay your standing order for your season ticket. But there's more and more people now that I've noticed who've actually who picking and choosing the games. So I think that they're going to have to find players from elsewhere, and I think that looking inside at your academy and investing money in that in the long term is going to be quite a wise move.
On top of that, you've got Ben Marshall, who looks like he's signed or about to sign a new contract, and Tony's obviously got his finger on the pulse there, where people are thinking maybe we've just farmed him out to Sheffield and we don't know what's happening. It's quite apparent that he has lots of chats with Gary Megson, who obviously knows some old at Stoke, and it looks like Marshall may be another one for the future. And in fact, when Tony talks, he talks about what he considers the value of players going out on loan to other clubs, and I thought that was quite interesting. He talks about players being mollycoddled and not understanding that it's a results-driven business, and how he would handle things differently than maybe the FA are trying to do with this under-21 teams.
Ben's been out and played and has done really well at Sheffield Wednesday. We've been, monitoring, watching his games, and he's done really well. We're pleased with him. We're pleased that he's out playing football. We think that's important for youngsters, for our young players to go out and play. And, he's thrived on it. Obviously, I know Meggie really well. Gary's kept me in touch after all the games of how well he's done and everything else. So we're pleased with him. Well, Shotton went out and played with a couple of clubs and did really well. And then came back and has shown that, given the opportunity, given the chance, he's done exceptionally well. But he's, Andy Wilkinson went out, Cal Dickinson went out and played football. It's the way I think it should be done, and they should be out playing against men if they're good enough and strong enough, not playing kids football.
We're trying to get Ben done. I think that's very close at the moment. So he's done very well at Sheffield. We're pleased for him. We're pleased for Gary. That Sheffield Wednesday is a great football club. It's a great experience for him to be playing at the club. I think their last home crowd was 28,000. In front of big crowds. They're going for promotion. And we're hoping that the experience that he'll gain there will help us when he comes back. I just think it's the right way of doing it. I think youngsters, we've got academy systems in place that actually protect players, and I don't think personally that should be the case. I think they should be out playing games, and if they're that good, they should be playing league games. And if you have a look at the system in Spain, they get the kids out playing against men as early as you possibly can. In this country, we actually do it the opposite way. We're now starting to promote an under-21 team, or trying to get an under-21 team going. It's not the way I would do it personally, but the FA got to do what they've got to do.
I thought it was interesting when he was asked about the pressure when things aren't going well for you, and he said, as everybody will hear, he said that it is very difficult, and some people just wilt under the pressure, and obviously Tony's not a wilter.
My biggest gripe, and supporters have a right to say what they want and to do what they want. My biggest gripe was that if I'd have been a Blackburn Rovers supporter, whether I like Steve Keane or whether I like the directors, the owners, whoever it is, I'd have gone to that game hoping my team would have won and doing my best to help that team win. And then after the game, you can vent your feelings again when the game's not going. But to actually start after 2-3, we hear people after 2 or 3 minutes, absolutely slaughtering Steve and slaughtering some of the players and slaughtering this. And, that just doesn't help. Now I know we're in a society where there's a lot of, it's not just Blackburn. We're picking on Blackburn here, but there's lots of, feelings that are shown, and people say they have the right to do it because they pay the money. But my big thing was go to the game, support your team, and then afterwards, if you want to vent your feelings afterwards when the game's over, then fine. But for that 90 minutes, surely for goodness sake, you should be back in your football club, because they keep telling us, these people, that they are Blackburn Rovers supporters through and through. I've had it a few times as a manager, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult for the players on the pitch, to give it their best. We're all made differently. Some people roll their sleeves up and actually, rise to the challenge. Other people are just, they wilt, and it does have an effect. But that, like I say, that's the world we live in, and you have to get on with it. My biggest gripe, and I'll say it again, was for 90 minutes, against the local rivals, against Bolton, give it your best for Blackburn, because it's Blackburn you're shouting for, because that's what you're saying. It's about the football club and about your respect for that football club.